R2, it was a good year. It was pretty flawless. We went into the last round, I think 14 points ahead of second place. And it was kind of a formality, really. Everything was going fine until lap 2, and he fell over and carried on riding, and all of a sudden the bike started smoking and overheated.
Yeah, it's open. Yeah, it's open.
Bike's cooked.
Quickly.
Come on. We realized that the pipe from the radiator was off. In our minds, we thought that the race was done. Davin got off, obviously he was quite emotional. We were all just kind of like, we can't believe it, you know. And someone said, let's put water in the bike and see what happens. And we did that, Pritchard did that, and he started it, and it sounded like nothing had ever happened with the bike. It sounded good as gold. And we were like, Davin, the bike's running, you know, get on, let's go. And I just saw Pritchard, his shoulders just dropped, and he's like, Carl, we never refueled him. And we're like, he's not going to make this lap. We were running with the tracker, so we knew where he was. And we saw him at about 35, 40 kilometers in stop. And we realized, okay, that's it, you know, the race is done. And the next thing, the tracker started moving. We were like, geez, he must have got fuel. He came back in, and obviously I'm on my laptop working out points and what does he need to finish. And I realized that at that time he was sitting 20th and he needed to get to 11th to win. And he had one lap to do it. So we refueled the bike. Obviously we didn't know if he was going to make it. He went out on that lap and he literally passed enough people but one. And he lost the championship by I think 1 point or 2 points.
After a pretty hectic season like last year, it feels good to take a break. Obviously, I miss it straight away, but it's always good to take a break and think about where you can learn from your mistakes and what you need to do better for the coming season.
Dav he's a hard shell, but you know, he does take things in his own way, and if you know him really well, obviously he would open up to you.
We met in end of 2018, and yeah, he was riding still back then.
I heard this little 125 behind me, and I was like, there's no ways that a 125 could be catching me, you know what I mean? At a GXCC, they started like 4 or 5 minutes behind. And the next thing, I look behind me and there's this like clapped out bike with like insulation tape numbers. I'm like, no, this guy must be lost, eh? So I carry on riding. Next thing, he's passed me in a mud section. And he left me, and I'm like, geez, like, who is that? I said to Gareth, the rapper that time, who is that guy, you know? And he said, no, he's here with Brad, it's Davin Cocker. And I said, look, we gotta get him on the team, we gotta help him. He's a phenomenal talent just from the little bit I've seen. And that's how it started, you know. He came onto the, at that time it was whole shot Husqvarna, which is now Berm. And he came onto the team as a junior. We helped him out where we can, a little bit here and there. His parents tried to go back, well, they went back to Zambia to get another business going there after Zim, and here for a bit. And he was kind of here on his own, you know, he was like a 15-year-old.
Ever since then, he's kind of just helped me out where he can. He understands that my parents don't live in the country, so he's helped me out as much as he can and where he can. So whenever I needed to go to the tracks before I had my license and that, he'd be there, he'd help me. And for the races that my parents couldn't make, he'd help me there. So yeah, he's looked after me and he's one of my good friends. So yeah, he's always there.
I said to Fred, or Fred said to me actually, that we need to get this kid involved. But at that point he had riders like Brett Swanepoel, Kenny Gilbert, you know, he had big names, championship winners. And I said, let's try, you know, let's get him in the setup, let's get him in the fold. And he rode for them for half a year, like off the team, but on the team, with Brett and Kenny. And then he landed up doing really well. You know, he challenged Brad, and I think everybody knows about that story at Rhino Park where, you know, he passed him on that final straight. He passed Brad, and I think they had the same reaction that I had when he passed me on a 500. It was just like, who is this guy? That morning, the fuel pump was broken. We thought he might not even be able to race. He was spluttering up and down the start line, and yeah, I think his whole career has pretty much been that. You know, he's never had the best stuff. He's never wanted the best stuff. He's always just ridden what he has and makes it work. But one thing he does do is he doesn't give up, and he somehow knows how to win. And that's a very good trait, you know. That's something you look for in a sportsman.
Cross-country season's been going all right. Definitely a good start to the year, the round one in Rocky Bay, where I managed to win the overall and in class. So yeah, that was a good start to the season. It was a very dusty day, but luckily I got a good time trial and then managed to just pull from there.
We realized that to be good as a Joburg rider, even though he's not really a Joburg rider, he's from Zambia, but you have to be good in KZN. And if you can win there, it just opens up your doors for the championship. He then came second in Elim, second in Freiburg, which obviously put sort of other people in a position that could fight for the championship a lot easier.
I've grown up racing with Scott since 50s, so to see him get a first overall at one of the South African Nationals was a big thing, so hats off to him, he did well, and yeah, it was a good day.
At the end of the day, we knew that in the sand in Uppington we could be fast, and the last race in Bloem we would kind of just have to grit the teeth and make sure that we get the job done.
Uppington, the first day in time trial, I was feeling really good. I was riding well, and unfortunately I started to slide on the bike and put my leg down to stop it, and my knee, I just felt a big pop, and I knew something wasn't great because it reminded me of what happened in 2015 when I did my other knee. I couldn't stand so much, and Uppington and Cape Town are both sandy tracks where I prefer to stand a lot.
Yeah, so the knee's a tough part of the body to quickly heal. You know, it's something that you can tweak over and over and over and over again. So once it's gone, it's not easy to get that fixed. So when it happens, every time you ride, it's either a small tweak or a big tweak, but there's going to be a tweak. And in Cape Town, he thought he's feeling good, but the first soft sand corner blowout, he realizes my knee's off, it's no good. And he decided then that he needs to rather just circulate, get the points, and focus for Bloem. You know, Davin was win or like something will go wrong. You know, in his mind, second was never an option. And sometimes to win a championship, if you're in second, you can still win the championship. For that, you know, you don't have to win every race. And I think maybe this year, because of that, he realized he has to take calculated sort of losses, if that makes sense. You know, Scott Haygate this year was riding unbelievably, and he kind of accepted that I can come second here. I don't have to try pass him, and I don't have to throw everything on the line here. You know, we can plan and still win this championship comfortably. And I think that stemmed from last year's failure, you know, that it wasn't win at all costs, it was more calculated and let's plan it.
Last year, Bloemfontein wasn't a good race at all. We basically had the championship and we still threw it away. So this year I was pretty nervous, but I knew I could do it because the points were very close. In order to win, I had to come first or second. If Scott won, I'd have to come second. If I came third, I would have lost the championship. Fortunately, I got out in front for the time trial, so I knew the second day I just had to nurse the bike, nurse myself, and make sure I got to the finish. I was just so excited. I don't really know what it was. I was actually going to try and ghost my bike, but everyone came too close to the finish, so I just rev bombed and I was so excited. I don't know what to say. I was lost for words because last year, yeah, it was a bad experience, but I just knew this year I was happy with what I'd done, and I was just happy I managed to do it this year.